A 10-year-old special needs child is in a coma and struggling for his life after being severely burned in an extreme bullying incident on Sunday.
I'm afraid to walk in the hallways. I'm afraid to walk in the classrooms.
The two teens' 15-year-old schoolmates of Haskins hold a hot cigarette lighter to his skin.
Go ahead and scream, because guess what? You're going to get knocked in. And your mouth is shut. Shut your mouth.
We all have to come together and we have to accept, people with disabilities.
Throughout history, one group of people has been marginalized, repressed, and neglected. Even in this modern age of awareness, people with disabilities are still largely ignored. Specifically, the handicapped youth in special education still face exclusion and mistreatment from their peers. In the 1800s, reformer Dorothea Dix revolutionized the care for the handicapped. Before her work, the disabled were oftentimes thrown in prison and faced cruel treatment and abuse. Although Dorothea's efforts significantly improved conditions for disabled people, official legislation for the handicapped in the education system was sadly only passed in 1975, titled the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, which later changed to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. As defined by the Individuals with Disabilities Act, special education is a specially designed instruction to meet the unique needs of a child with a disability.
It's sort of like convincing people that we all need support in certain areas. If a person, for instance, loses a leg, they need some type of appliance to help them run. Sometimes a person has a processing disability, so they need some extra time.
At Saratoga High School, there is a lack of compassion towards special education students. However, it may be a subconscious action rather than direct bullying. For example, use of certain words with derogatory connotations are often used around campus.
But just being a little bit different often makes people see the world differently and think that the world sees them differently. So I do meet with students sometimes that use the word SPED as a derogatory way of describing their own situation and feeling like, well, everybody knows that I'm in SPED and nobody really wants to be my friend because I'm in SPED.
In fact, a 2009 study conducted by the National Autism Association reported that 65% of parents say that their child with Asperger's has been victimized by their peers one way or another. The program is not made to separate students, it's meant to support those with disabilities. Most of these students simply have one more class than regular education students. So what really causes this division between peers?
I think that for kids that are in the general population, being aware that if they know of a kid or the kids in their class and they think there's something a little bit different about them, or they think, oh, maybe they're in special ed, they have some learning issue or some social issue, to be aware of having compassion. Because even if they're not teasing the kid, if they're not just including them in a general conversation that you're having in a classroom, then that has an effect on them. Because then they're thinking, oh, these people are ignoring me or marginalizing me because I'm somehow different.
Special education students really aren't different than the general population. Mandated by the IDEA Act, all special education students have an IEP, which is a legally binding document unique to each student defining their needs and how they can be met. Despite legislative efforts to allow special education students to have a safe school experience, students often still feel isolated and have low confidence.
I want you to know that we are still nice people, even though we may do things or say things that are a little odd. It's not because we want to, it's because we just can't help it.
However, all these integrative efforts will have no effect if the general population does not change their attitude towards special education students. To erase the stigma around special education, volunteer at inclusive organizations such as Special Olympics Northern California, Sunday Friends, and Open Mind School. Let's contribute to a society which recognizes everyone as human instead of their disabilities.
Yeah, I would imagine, a lot of individuals participating in our program, especially as it pertains to sports. They'll go through general education or, special education at their respective high schools, and, they'll want to get involved with the sports program, whether, it be the high school sports team, but a lot of times it's not the best fit for, varying reasons. And, having them come to our program and then get put right onto a competitive sports environment with, making all these new friends, I think it's, one of those things that definitely makes a substantial impact in the lives of our participants.